Some of you probably noticed I'm also legally blind. So Sarah just told me to turn this way and turn that way. It's going to be tricky because sooner or later you're going to see me over there. So kind of how appropriate tonight we talk about heaven and hell. It's kind of like Jesus saying, those on my right side and those on my left. Okay. So actually the Catholic version of the topic would be heaven, hell, and purgatory. So what happens after death? So I want to begin by telling you a story, something that I experienced in the first few years of my priesthood when I started at St. Timothy Parish. There's a lady who used to be there. She passed away now, but she was completely blind. And for some time, I began to visit her, and always loved to talk to her because she was so full of joy. And I found out more about her story that she lost her sight because of diabetes. So not too many years ago, she used to be able to read perfectly. And one of the things she really wanted to do was to be able to be a lecturer again. And so what happened was that actually a few years before I came to the parish, she was still lecturing, but she was doing it with Braille. So a pretty amazing woman. And I remember toward the end of her life, one time I went to her home and started talking to her, and I found out that she was spending her days looking after other people, opening up her home to invite people who couldn't rent, didn't have anything, and welcome them into her place to be able to have a place to stay. And being a blind person, that's pretty brave. And then she said, I can't wait. I can't wait to see again. And I asked her, well, we need to pray for healing. I know, but that's not what I mean. I can't wait to see the next person, because the next person I will see, I know, will be Jesus Christ. That's when she goes to heaven. So I hope she's in heaven right now. And what an amazing testimonies for someone who is, who had so little and yet so full of that desire to be in heaven, to go there and prepare for that now. We all have to face our reality that we are one day going to die. And some people don't like to talk about it. I'm from a Chinese culture that people naturally don't like to talk about the word death. One of my close buddies, every time I mention the word, he gets angry at me. He would literally push me and say, well, don't say that word again. That's it. The more I say that word, it's going to happen. They said, well, don't worry about it. It's going to happen anyway. There's no avoiding it. But the question why we're afraid of that is because so many people today don't know what's going to happen after death. Right? Those who do not have, those who are not Christian, who do not have the Bible to tell us, they don't know. But even for a lot of Catholics, we are afraid, not so much because we don't know, or maybe we don't. Right? But we do have Jesus who came back from the dead to tell us what happened after we died. But so many of us are afraid because we're afraid to go to the other place. Right? Actually, it could be an accident. Somehow after that we'll find out that, wow, you know what, you won the lottery, you go to hell. So, but we do have that morbid fear sometimes. They say, well, I don't know what's going to happen after I die. I don't want to die. I want to kind of live longer. But deep down, really, we want to live longer because we want to enjoy this passing world more. Right? And that's the problem. Heaven and hell, tonight, we're going to talk about is that it starts now. But we need to talk about what actually happened after we die. Because a lot of people have erroneous ideas about that. We are made body and soul. But even by saying that, it's not correct. We are made as embodied spirit. We are not body plus soul. We are both body, we are both soul. Like one thing. Your body is you. Your soul is you. They're meant to be together, not meant to be separated. But because we lost the grace with our first parents, when we die, our body will pass on. Right? So that's why we are afraid of corpse and ghosts. Okay? Corpse, a body without soul, and ghosts are souls without a body. So it's grotesque. We're not supposed to be separated. Our body and soul are not supposed to be separated. But when we die, we lose our body. And something happens when we lose our body is that you become nobody. When you're a nobody, you cannot do works of charity. You cannot do good works. And the mystery of doing good works is that it actually changes our body and it changes our soul. It transforms it to be configured for heaven. It configured it for love. It configured it for being able to withstand the fiery love of God. God is a fireball of love. That unless we are purified like gold, we will melt in His presence. And when we die, our soul are immortal, so they don't die, and it goes to meet Jesus. And Jesus wouldn't say that, well, you did this, you did that. No, Jesus is going to show us what we have chosen during our lifetime. He's going to show us what we have chosen. And He'll show that, well, if our life are leaning toward God, if our choices are that we're making during our lifetime is for pouring ourselves more out to serve others than to serve ourselves, we're finding ourselves more selfless, more sacrificial in providing good for others than to taking from others to make ourselves better. Then we are able to enter into the same kind of love that God has for us. Will we say to God, your will be done? But if our hearts really becoming more and more selfish, and it's possible because the more we do that, the more we're blinded to the truth, the more we become self-focused and absorbed. Then the more likely we're going to choose to cater to myself. Right? And then the Lord will say, your will be done. So let yourself choose yourself. For those who choose God, eventually we're going to go to heaven. But heaven is really for those who can withstand the fire. There's a passage in Daniel that talks about 3 young men being caught by a king not worshiping his statue. And so he created this furnace that's 7 times hotter than it used to be, and he had the guard to tie them up and throw them into the furnace. The fire was so big that even the guards that tied them up and threw them into the furnace got burned, got consumed by the fire. Right? But the 3 young men, because their hearts are pure, were not only not hurt, but not even a sting of the singe of the fire remained on their body. Like they were able to walk freely in the furnace, and the angel of God came down to be with them. That's the image of heaven, where God is that fire. So only the pure can stand in that fire. Well, what if I'm not pure, but I really want to do good? I stumble, I fall, I'm not perfect, and at the end of my life, I still have some selfishness. But Jesus, in His mercy, so you still want God, so come on in. We stand in that fire and we experience purgation. That's what we call purgatory. Purgatory is not a place. Purgatory is a state that I'm not perfect, but God is perfect. I really want that. I want to go there. This is really beautiful. I want to be there, but I'm not yet ready. And so when I stand in the fire, something God has to burn away. And because I don't have my body to do good work to transform what is not perfect yet, it has to be burned away. So it's that losing of some of who I am in purgatory that's painful, but more so the pain of seeing God and knowing what I have done that prevented me to be there right now. That's the bigger pain that we have in purgatory. But then eventually we're going to get there. Once you get in purgatory, you're safe. But there are souls who, during their lifetime, because of their selfless sacrifice to others, that they had go through purgatory here during their lifetime. And they still could have venial sins and brokenness, but after they die, God's mercy is applied for what is lacking, and so they can go straight to heaven. Now, what is heaven? And sometimes as Catholics, if I were to ask you to use a piece of paper to draw, what you see as being in heaven, how it's going to look like, I wonder what we're going to put down. A lot of people may put down angels playing harps, people singing, hymns and all that, in this day and age, a lot of people, when we talk about heaven, when they think of that image, it's not very inspiring anymore. It's not very attractive. In fact, some people trying to say, like someone, like if the best image to describe that is going to Mass on Sunday here on earth, that's the closest it is to be in heaven. Some people will say, well, Mass is boring, in eternity, in a boring heaven, I'd rather go to hell. And unfortunately, we lost that imagination. What is heaven like? Now, when I was young in Hong Kong, there's this TV commercial from Nestea. And it's a very hot summer. There's a guy on the diving board, and he's sweating buckets. And the swimming pool is right behind you. He's backward to the pool. And the whole commercial was him falling off the diving, from the diving platform into the pool. And there's a song going in the background too, right? How it's so hot, and you drink Nestea, you will feel comfort, you will feel the coolness from top to bottom, That's kind of like, going to heaven is like, think of, there are two main effects when you go to heaven, is that, the first effect is that you see the face of God. But seeing the face of God, it's going to produce in you that complete satisfaction. And think of all the longings that you know of right now. Like all the things that you want, the relations you want to have, the fulfillment of knowledge and wisdom, the fulfillment of all the deepest desire, the things you want to achieve, the things you want to contribute, the things you want to do, all the things you deep down you long to have, to possess. That first second, that instant you go to heaven is completely fulfilled. Not only fulfilled, but beyond what you know you need. But that's only for the first second. The next second, God is going to enlarge your heart and your will and your desire so much that it raises to a totally different level. And there's a deeper hunger than ever, and God is going to completely satisfy that as well. So much so that compared to the last minute, it wasn't satisfactory at all, the last minute. And it's going to go on from 1 minute to 1 second to the next. Until eternity, that God is going to enlarge your heart so much as if you want to stretch your heart to infinity to embrace the fullness of the beauty and the glory and the satisfaction of God. And that's only the beginning. That's heaven. Heaven is not boring, heaven is exciting. Heaven is ever enlarging within you that deeper knowledge, the deeper desire, the deeper fulfillments, the deeper, adventure. That's the first effect, the interior transformation, enlargement within you. The second aspect of heaven, what it's going to do is that you're going to pour yourself out. Right? Heaven's going to give you such a desire to love and to give and to give yourself away that you're going to pour yourself so completely out the moment you get filled up by God to give it to the others that you see in heaven and the souls in purgatory and the many others who are still living on earth. So God is going to transform you to be a running river to pour out. So it's a place you can see, it's a place that everybody going into that deeper and more transparent and more life-giving relationship. There's no room for selfish desires. There's no room for exploitation. There's no room for sin. And so that souls that are not completely perfect need to go to purgation because they cannot enter into that exchange. They are not completely ready. Okay? But what about those souls that choose not to engage in? Okay? That God say to them, when they die, so well, your will be done. Right? They go to the other place, they go to hell. But in essence, even hell is not a place per se. Hell is rather a lack of a place, a lack of an essence, a lack of a being. Hell is not a locked up place. People say, well, I don't want to go to hell as if like the demons are going to lock me up in there. But just as everyone go to heaven, go there because they want to go there, everyone goes to hell because they want to go there. Because they want to go there, they want to stay there. In fact, there's no gates in hell. And when Jesus died on the cross on that Good Friday, he went to hell and took away the gates. He broke the gates. So that all those who do not want to be there cannot be there. They don't need to be there. They can leave. But people go there because step by step they chose during their lifetime to turn to themselves more and more and more. They allow things simple things to stay on their soul, and they nurse it, and they go back to it. Hell, in fact, would be that you go into the presence of God, and you hate God so much, you hate love so much, you hate others so much, that in the presence of that itself is hell for you. And so you turn more and more to yourself, you try to separate yourself from God, but you can't, and it burns, and it burns, and it burns. Hell is not because God is punishing us. Hell is because we want to punish ourselves. We turn against our own nature, turning against that call to love. Many saints teach us that, like knowing these heaven and hell, like almost all the saints well, start living heaven and hell. Like start aiming for heaven. There are a lot of people, they say, well, like I want to go to hell, but I'm not ready for the kind of sacrifice I need to go to heaven. Maybe I aim for purgatory. Well, there's a big danger there. Is that if you are trying to if you practice archery, right, you won't aim at the edge of your target, right? Because in case you miss it, it won't hit the target at all. Right? You're going to aim the center. Right? Same thing with our destiny, our aim, right? If we aim for purgatory, well, what if we miss it? Right? You want to aim for heaven, just in case you miss it, you still got purgatory. So all the saints tell us about start living heaven now. But in essence, our guide would be one of the saints in the church that teaches most about purgatory is St. Catherine Genoa. Right? She's the authority on purgatory, and she actually wrote a book. It's easy to find. It's called On the Purgatory. and she said that we'll begin purgatory now. Begin purgatory now. Because in order to go to heaven, we need to purify ourselves. And purification is not necessarily painful in the sense that we do things deliberately to hurt ourselves, to make it difficult for ourselves. But living purgatory means that, I choose to be charitable. I choose to be more self-giving. I choose to be more loving. I choose that during my lifetime that every opportunity I find, I ask God to teach me to love better. Purgatory means that, when we run into difficulty, when we run into rejection, when we run into sadness and pain, we stay close to Jesus and ask His will be done. And it's going to cost us. But it's better to live purgatory now, because it teaches and stretches our hearts to realize that to give and to bless and to forgive is actually, as painful as sometimes it could be, is actually freeing. There's an inner freedom that we get. Why does it matter now? It's because people will say, well, my perfect life would be that I enjoy all the parties, all the luxuries, I enjoy all the worldly goods until I'm on my deathbed, and then I repent, like the thief, the criminal by Jesus' side on the cross, right? You just say, well, remember me when you go into your kingdom, and then Jesus said, well, today you come to me in the paradise. Isn't that perfect, right? If such a thing, that we can do that. Everyone can do that. We can enjoy life. I mean, we can have the cake and eat it too. Okay. But that's not going to work. Why? Because Jesus' asks us is that, you don't know the time. And as a priest, I have the privilege to be at the deathbed of many people. And this is another lesson that we have to learn is that we don't know the time. And when the time does come, we're going to regret it. We're going to regret. I've been on many occasions being with those who are very rich, who may have a lot of achievements during the lifetime. But when they die just like anybody else. And almost every time I hear the same story, they will always say, every single one of them will say that, I wish I had used my time better. I wish I spent more time learning how to love. I wish I was more there for my kids instead of making money. So even if we say that we're going to postpone it at the end, we're going to regret it. There's that reality is that deep down we know we are made for heaven. And it's important that we start now. But also Jesus said that it's important that not only that we go to heaven, but we bring many friends with us into heaven. One of the books that I would recommend people to read when they talk about heaven and hell is C.S. Lewis' book, called The Great Divorce. The Great Divorce is a very interesting, fictional story talking about a guy, C.S. Lewis himself, going to hell as a tourist. and there's a bus there taking him to heaven, along with anyone who wants to go on that bus to go to heaven. And how the story discovered that people who goes to hell, they don't want to go to heaven. So after they've seen everything they want to see in heaven, they go back to hell. And it was talking about why is that desire within. That desire within. And when desire is turning the wrong way, there's no turning back. Unless we repent early. Right? Sometimes if we leave it to the end, we may not repent. But then he described the scenery that when he was touring in heaven, there was this woman coming in a carriage, and hundreds and thousands of people came up to welcome her. And he was wondering in the story, he didn't name it, but he said that it's that her, saying that maybe this is Mary, the mother of God. But he didn't say it. And his guide taking him around said, no, it's not her. Nobody on earth knew about this woman. But she was doing a lot of sacrifice quietly. Seeing a lot of prayers, making a lot of sacrifices, helping a lot of unfortunate people, the underprivileged. And many people, because of his prayer, even the people that she didn't know, had never met, was benefited from her prayers. And because of that, they were waiting for her in heaven to welcome her in. So this is an image of someone that Jesus described, we need to prepare for heaven, and we need to bear fruit. The story of the sowing of the seed. Jesus said that those who fall in the good soil, there's no option of not bearing fruit. Right? They all bear fruit, 160, 30 fold. And seeing that, we need to start thinking of heaven because this world is passing away. This world is passing away. The things we hold on to, the only reason we don't want to start being more selfless and giving and more ready to enter in that joy is that we live in the wrong mentality. We're thinking that God is trying to take things away from us. We're thinking that God is trying to take the joy away from us. But instead, starting to live heaven out is to be in the business of bringing joy to others. It's the business of really getting to know the people around us, really care for them, really have compassion for them, really thinking of ways to bless them, to free them, really finding ways to bring Jesus to them, to spend time to walk with them, to journey with them, so that they too may know the fullness of God's blessing, the fullness of God's mercy and forgiveness. That's the call that we have. And it's a tremendous freedom that as Christians, as Catholics, we just celebrate is that we have the graces laid out for us to do that. We have the blessings laid out for us to do that. And that's the calling we have. And that this life right now is every decision, every choice we make is transforming our own being, but at the same time we are bringing transformation to others. And every time we see a blessing, we're spending time when someone else is undergoing a difficult time, or someone who is sad, someone who is really don't know the love of God, and we're spending time with them, or someone who's really being difficult, and we are being persevering, being in patient endurance, in forgiving them, in teaching them in our own quiet ways, in bringing the gospel, living the gospel, witnessing to them. We're bringing heaven to them. And that's what the world needs today too. And when we're about that business, then heaven indeed begins today. Right? There's a connection there. When Jesus said the kingdom of God is here, is at hand. He's saying that we need to start heaven now, and heaven now is the kingdom of God. It's that when we enter into that love that Christ has for us. So in closing, heaven and hell really matters. And it starts now. But we don't know. As St. Augustine said, we're not certain of ourselves. And I don't know when I'm going to see next. And if I allow myself to see next, I don't know what it's going to take me to. It may take me to a place that I no longer believe. It may take me to a place that I begin to doubt. It may take me to a place that I really begin to enjoy sinning. Let us not hesitate. St. Augustine said the only reason why we're hesitating about preparing for heaven, about going to prepare a good death for ourselves to meet God, it's because we love sin more than we love God. As Christians, if we proclaim that I love God and I know God loves me, we need to really prepare that, well, I want to meet my loving God the best I can. I want to be preparing for that wedding. When I meet the Lord and enter into that banquet, prepare my wedding gown, I'm going to prepare my suit, tuxedo and all that. And that's the work we start today. So may the Lord bless you, that we together we start to prepare for heaven and live that purgatory now to choose to do the will of God every day of our life. Amen.